for controlling your sign-making costs with MPS, and we're going to open this up with an extended question and answer session pretty soon here. Just wanted to make sure that everybody who could get logged in or needs to get logged in is having the opportunity to do so. I see that the number is steadily climbing on the attendees, so we'll give it just about 30 more seconds. Okay, we're going to get going. Again, good morning. Welcome everybody to this presentation. We'd like to be able to provide you with as much information as we can today on MPS and answer any of your questions that you may have as well. In order to get going, I've got a couple of housekeeping items. First of all, I'd like to address today's session is going to be a Q&A session. I would like to be able to open up to any questions along the way. There's a couple of things that you can do to participate in that. First of all, you can go ahead and either put in the PIN code that's displayed there on your pop-out window for this webinar, followed by the hashtag sign or the pound sign, which will allow you to be able to speak and be heard. We're going to have you raise your hand. There's actually a hand-raising button or icon on the display as well, so if you can raise your hand, I'll go ahead and jump over to you, unmute your line, and then open it up to questions. And then we'll also go ahead and you can sign in through sending in questions through the chat interface, and I can answer questions that way if you prefer not to have everybody hear the melodious tones of your voice. Today's presentation is on MPS. We would like to talk a little bit, first of all, about what we're going to be covering today. So I'm going to go over this presentation from the very beginning of how we actually send jobs from CorelDRAW appropriately for MPS to be able to track. We're going to go over what MPS is, and then get into the interface and talk about some of the standard features as well as some of the newer features. And then we'll even get into a little bit of what we're expecting from MPS in the future. And then, again, we want to open this up to questions and answers. There's some of you who are on this webinar today that are familiar with MPS, that have already been using it, and that's fantastic. We could use your expertise as well as questions and insights. But there's a bulk of you who have never seen this at all, so this will be a good experience for you to be able to go through this interface with us. Please bear in mind, any question is absolutely acceptable. We're not going to look down on anybody's questions. And then if it gets in depth and it's specific, that's something that we can address offline. So just to start off, I want to talk a little bit about an overview of what MPS can do for you. So have you ever wondered how much that job that you're going to print costs, or how much time did we spend in advertising that particular brand last quarter? Or how much time did I spend on creating signage last month? Or is there a better way to report how much work I'm doing? There has to be a better way to let people know that their signs are ready to be picked up. MPS is the solution to these questions and so much more. MPS is a powerful reporting tool that allows you to download your inferential data into Excel spreadsheets or into PDF charts so that you can do reporting to managers so that you can manage your sign shop. And the best thing about it is it's very easy to use. There aren't any special tools required to use MPS. It just takes EFI and then an internet browser. We have found that Google Chrome seems to be the browser of choice. It has the least amount of hiccups among multiple websites, including MPS. So if you have any questions or concerns about browsing capabilities or anything like that, we can talk offline about that. But any of these browsers do work. MPS just seems to respond best with Google Chrome. That being said, as a brief introduction as to what MPS kind of is, we'll get now into the nitty-gritty of MPS. So first of all, I'd like to discuss about sending jobs. Most of you are familiar with actually how to print a job from Corel just fine. But when you're printing a job from Corel and you're using MPS, there are some specific things that you need to integrate into your workflow that you may already be doing by habit. And that is selecting the right media type so that MPS can know what you're printing. So for example, if I'm going to print this file, this 3x2 poster on a Z6200, I'd need to come in here and not only select the correct workflow, but I'd also need to select the correct material type that I'm printing on. So if I printed this on the fabric material or the super heavyweight fabric material or on the PGWR, I would need to make those selections appropriately here. This is critical to be able to capture the media type that you actually printed on the first time. I will get into a little bit later how we can make those edits in MPS if you didn't make this selection appropriately here. But this is the point that it becomes critical for ease of use. That's different for the 9650. For the Z6200, it's done under the Color tab. For the 9650, it's done through the Media Set tab. You need to make sure that you're selecting the correct material type here, as well as the Media Size tab, selecting, Media Size tab, there we go, selecting the correct tray source and the correct format or size. Okay. And then for the L26500, if you're using the latex in the L265 or the L255, you also need to make sure under the Media Set tab to select the appropriate material type that you're printing on there. All right, once that's been selected, once you've printed your job and a job shows up into EFI, the job is automatically going to be captured as a printed job once this status has changed from spooled to printed. Now, every hour, Corel or EFI will upload the files that you've printed within the hour to the MPS program. Even if you delete this job, the second it prints, it's still going to be captured. So you don't need to worry about keeping files in the queue. The moment it's printed, it's captured, and it's stored into as a very small file on your system that has been uploaded to the MPS program within the hour. If, for example, you want to get that file up to MPS right away instead of waiting for that 5 minutes or that 69 or 59 minutes that it may take to actually get the file to show up in MPS, you can come over here to the System Manager, and under System, you can go to Upload Printed Job Information. And that will automatically upload the file to MPS that you've printed that you need to get up there right away. Okay? That's so much for the EFI and the CorelDRAW side of things. It does not affect your workflow in the slightest. It's incredibly simple to use. Now, getting into the MPS interface, this is what the MPS interface looks like. It just occurred to me that my webinar is not up, so if you guys are asking questions, let me just pull this up here. There we go. Fantastic, thank you. This is the MPS interface. In Manage Print Solutions, you have 5 main tabs across the top. You have the dashboard, the jobs log, the reports, the keywords, and the account. The dashboard is just a storage area. This stores everything that you have not, it's a temporary storage. It stores everything that you have not actually given attention to. And what I mean by attention to is that you haven't come in and categorized that file or added any finishing costs to that file, or put on any sort of confirmation that you've done and completed this job. Okay? The jobs log is an interface that shows you all of the jobs that you've printed, but it also shows you all the jobs that are in the dashboard. The way that you can denote the difference between the two is that once you've manipulated the columns that you care to actually see, you can come in here and see the files that have a red exclamation point next to them. Means that it has not been confirmed, and you can also tell by there being no keywords here that I've applied to it. So it's not confirmed. That means that it's in the dashboard. So I can confirm it here, or I can confirm it in the dashboard, but that lets me know these are the jobs that I've confirmed. This is the job that has not been confirmed. Okay? So again, the dashboard just temporarily holds the job. Once you confirm the job out of the dashboard, it will then leave the dashboard. It's no longer in there, and it's only in the jobs log area. So as we look at this, you can see that the dashboard already automatically calculated the cost for the job in ink and media. Well, not necessarily the dashboard, but the MPS interface. It's already calculated the cost for ink and media, even if it's not been confirmed. So where does that cost come from? That cost comes from TMS inks and TMS materials. That's a back-end database that we've already built into the system. You do not need to worry about manually uploading any of those things, but we cannot also put in custom. That's specifically for TMS inks and medias. However, we can customize what you may want to see for finishing costs. So I can create finishing costs that are specific and unique to each individual sign shop. For example, this sign shop wanted to be able to track by lamination, grommets, foam core, banner tabs. They also wanted to be able to track by a certain amount of cost per hour for labor in pre-production, which means pre-print, and post-production, which means the time that you spent finishing the job. Those are fully customizable by you at the time that you create the order or send in the order for your MPS. And then along the way, if you have any requests for updates, you would just contact us and we can put that in there for you. Again, just as a housekeeping item, along the way here, if you've got any questions, please go ahead and raise your hand so that I can see the hand raised, and we can address that question. It does look like I have one question here. This is coming in from a wholesaler that asks about, is there a limit on how long the dashboards hold the jobs? No, Christy, there's not any limit to how long the dashboard will hold a job. The dashboard will hold the job indefinitely. The problem is that if you want to actually confirm these jobs into categories, such as putting keywords on them and assigning them to sales reps or special events or anything like that, which we'll get into in a moment here, the longer you let it sit in the dashboard, the more jobs you're going to have to confirm later. It's quite simple to actually come in and apply these things. It takes me about 15 minutes each day in the morning to go through and apply confirmation to about 65 jobs, 70 jobs. So it's really simple, and we hope to make it even more simple in the future, which I'll discuss here in a moment as well. But it holds everything. We will hold them for 3 years in the dashboard or the jobs log, and then your latest or the fourth year, when you get into the fourth year, your third year will drop off. So you'll always have up to 3 years of data showing in the dashboard or in the jobs log. Got another question coming in about the cost. Fantastic question. I was going to get to that in a little bit. The cost is $4.95 annually, which is about $1.35, $1.36 per day. But that cost includes all updates that are done to the database, all new features that are added within the MPS main interface here, as well as all the storage for that 3 years as we offload that storage into backup servers. So $495 per year. And yes, that is per key. That's per dongle. Thank you for the other question. So if you've got multiple EFI licenses on your systems, meaning you've got one PC that actually has an EFI dongle attached to it, or you've got 3 PCs that have an EFI dongle attached to them, it is per license. Most wholesalers do not have multiple licenses to worry about. So it's just the one license that you'd be paying the subscription for. But the $495 is per license. Any other questions about this before we move on? Okay, moving on. So the jobs log area allows us to do some specific and unique things. We can actually run reports by specific search entries. So once we've confirmed jobs, we've put in keywords, we're able to actually search by those specific values. And I'm going to show you how to create those keywords here in just a moment. But if I wanted to be able to know everything that I've done for John Doe, which is one of my sales reps, and I want to know what I did for him for Budweiser, and for a specific date range, whether that was today, yesterday, a week ago, within a week, within the month, this month, last month, custom range, whatever it might be, I can put in those values, and then I can apply that filter, and it will show me specifically what I've done for that individual. And for Budweiser. Those two things applied together. I have another question coming in here. Michael, let me get to that in just one moment. It is actually, the question is the cost monthly or one upfront billing? It's an upfront billing of $495. And then you have an expiration date a year later. It's a year and a couple of weeks later, because we give you a couple of weeks to start getting to know the system before you actually your time starts for that 1 year. With the jobs log interface, being able to put in the custom range and the specific criteria that you want to search for, this becomes a powerful tool. You can then export that file out as a Excel spreadsheet or as a PDF file. The Excel spreadsheet allows you to be able to manipulate the data any way you want, and to be able to, create a pivot table and create charts based on whatever it is that you want to see. The PDF allows you to be able to get exactly what you're seeing here with the thumbnail previews and all of this data, so that it just becomes basically a screen capture PDF that you can give to somebody else. Very simple. The reports interface becomes even more simplistic in the reports that you can run. You don't have the dynamic ability of being able to put in multiple types of reports, meaning you don't have the ability to come in here and say, show me what I did for a specific sales rep, for a specific special event, for a specific brand. But you can say, what have I done cost by brand for a specific date range. And then you can add on another report saying, okay, now show me what I've done for sales reps for a specific date range. So this becomes a really powerful, quick, and easy tool that you can have. You can export this out as PDFs, and coming soon will be the ability to export these out as Excel spreadsheets, so that all the data that's contained within this report will be in an inferential data that you can then manipulate as well. Now, moving on to the keywords. This is kind of the nitty-gritty of what we can do here within MPS. I want to talk about some of the newer features in just a moment, as far as what you can actually, some of the newer things that we've added specifically into keywords and into cost templates, and some of the other things, but I just want to cover the basics of what a keyword is. A keyword allows you to come in here and create a category that you want to be able to sort by. So if you have a desire to be able to sort by days of the week, which would be a weird one to sort by, but absolutely possible. You'd put in days of the week, and then you'd come in here and you'd create Monday, Tuesday, I can spell, Tuesday, Wednesday, so on. And then you would create those, and it would create the keyword values for you automatically. Now those keyword values you can then use when you come over here to confirm a job. So if I wanted to use Monday, it's now there. And if I wanted to use Joe's Bar and Grill, because that was one of the keywords I did, was the ability to be able to track by account. Or if I wanted to do by James Kirk, which is one of my sales reps. Or if I wanted to be able to also do it by Bud Light, Lime, because that's the brand on this particular image. I can apply all of those things to this image and then confirm this image and close it, or confirm and open next. But what if I also put grommets on there? I can say that I used grommets and how many grommets I used. I used 10 grommets. Or what if I put this on foam core? It would automatically calculate how much actual material was used, and it would calculate then the foam core and put the cost for the foam core added to this. Remember, these are the things that you've decided in advance that you wanted us to be able to add to your database as a customized entry. So these could be anything you want. So can the keywords. The keywords actually are customizable by you. You create these keywords. So if you wanted to create a days of the week keyword, if you wanted to create an accounts keyword category, if you wanted to create a sales reps category or a route number category or a special events category, you can create those. It's a blank template for you to create in the keywords area. The one thing that you can do in here that we mentioned earlier in CorelDRAW was the importance of selecting the appropriate material type. Well, if you failed to print it or make that selection, you can now, as an updated feature, change to what it was that you really printed on. So you can make that change to the appropriate thing. So if you really printed this on cardstock, I can come over here and select the cardstock entry. And then again, confirm and close, and all of those things would be taken care of. Now, coming back over to keywords. These are completely managed by you, and I'm going to address a couple of questions that I've seen come up here. These are completely managed by you, so you can create whatever you want. If you wanted to create by supplier, you could do that. You just create a supplier category, and you put in the suppliers that you want to be able to track by. If you wanted to be able to create a database for special events, which is one of the ones that help out a lot, actually. It's one of my favorite categories, to be able to see what you did for Joe's Bar and Grill for Route 4 for March Madness, and to be able to pull that report. It becomes pretty powerful at that point, so that you can actually see as a marketing tool also what you're utilizing this for. Let's see if I'm answering the questions here. Can you specify by supplier? Yes, you can create whatever category types you want. Can you import a database to create the keyword categories as in an account list? Yes. To do so, you would just actually create out of Excel. Anything that you want, you can create. If you've got an account list already, just make sure that you don't have any commas, pound signs, hyphens, anything like that in the fields. But if you've got Bud, let's put in accounts. I'm gonna say my accounts are numbers. You can have them as names or numbers or what, but if I've got 1, 2, 3. Come on now. You can create whatever your accounts are, and then just take those values, Control-C, copy them, or right-click and copy. Come back over here, go to your Manage, add your keywords. My new category, I'm going to create account numbers. Again, that could be account names. And Control-V, paste, or right-click and paste. I hope that answered your question. So yeah, you absolutely can do that. You can do that from a text file. You can do that from an Excel spreadsheet file. Any other questions about keywords at this point? If not, I want to move on to show you one of the newest things that we've added to keywords that's quite cool, actually. You now have the ability to come in here and manage. So I'm going to come in here and manage my salespersons. I can add in, I'm going to put on here Brina, who's attending with us today as one of the TMS representatives, as one of my sales reps. And I want to let Brina know every time her stuff is done without actually calling her up or making sure that she's not stopping by 5 times a day to ask me if the stuff is done. I want to put in here a notification for her so that every time that Brina comes to ask about her signs, I can just say, hey, did you get an email? Because from now on, when I apply Brina's name to a keyword or to a file as a keyword, it will automatically send her a notification. That way she knows that she can come pick up that specific file, and what it sends her is basically this interface right here that shows the image that was selected. It also shows the date and time that it was printed. It shows what material type it was printed on. It shows what printer it was printed on, the number of copies, the number of pages. It does not get into the finishing costs or anything like that. It just shows her this file right here, this interface right here, and says, this is ready for you to come pick up. That way Brina's not bugging me all the time, which is kind of a cool feature, because Brina can get a little annoying sometimes. Just kidding, Brina. So one of the things that we've added is that ability for notification. Now we're going to tie that in the future to some other things that we'd like to be able to do, and I'm going to get into that really next. Is the ability to come in and actually, actually let me show you a couple of other things. I apologize, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. Under the dashboard, we've also added the capability of selecting multiple jobs at the same time to confirm, so that you don't have to, if they're all the same file, you don't have to come in here and confirm this one, then confirm this one. If they all have the same, if they're all the same file, they're all for the same keyword values, you just select the ones that you want, and then you can come over here and say confirm your jobs. It shows you the jobs that you're confirming up here. And then you would come in and you'd put in specifically the values that you want. So if you wanted to say, you know, you spend 15 minutes on pre-production here and 20 minutes on post-production, and that it was for Brina, and that it was for Halloween, and that it was for Bud Light, and that it was for Route 4. I could put in whatever values I want. Maybe I did lamination to this, and then confirm and close, and that confirms all 4 of them at the same time. And Brina just got an email with 4 different notifications on it saying that they were all ready to come. Another thing that we've added in here is the capability of putting a cost template. This was, most of these things that I'm telling you about, these new features, are actually requests that have been requested by you, the wholesalers. So thank you for those. And when you have those, please let us know. We are more than happy to see if we can implement the things that make sense for everybody. But one of the things that we thought made sense was the ability to create cost templates. Now, this, again, is something like the finishing database, where we would create it for you, but you can actually have us create a specific set of cost templates that makes sense for you guys instead of actually having to put in the specific amount of time that you spent on something and a premium charge. So if you were doing this as a 2x3 stand-up and you just wanted to put a premium charge on there and say that it took 15 minutes to do, we could just select that. And then you just come in here and put in your keywords, whatever they might be, and then confirm it. So it's just a quick selection. You would still want to put on your, specific finishing costs unless you've tied that into how you wanted this to be tracked for the cost template. Okay. Under accounts, you have the ability to come in and put in a specific email address that you want to have notifications sent to daily saying what jobs are in the dashboard that might need your attention. So every day you get a job, an email that says you've got 30 jobs in your dashboard that need your attention. And then you could go in and add just a reminder to put it in there. You also have the capability, or to confirm those jobs, you also have the capability of coming in here and doing a markup value so that if you wanted to give these reports out that we've just been discussing under the reports link or under the job logs link, if you wanted to be able to give these out to the accounts, you don't necessarily want them to see what your cost was on it. You'd want them to see what street cost is on there. So you can put a markup value of 150% or of 300% or whatever it might be, and then save those changes, and it will automatically mark that up when you run your reports. Looks like we've got another question coming in here about, see, the media says no preset selected white. How can we have less words so it's easier to find? Ray, a great question, but it's actually tied to the notifications that are in EFI. So there's not really a way for us to cut those out at this point. That's how EFI ties those values in. I believe what she's talking about here, and correct me if I'm wrong, Rhea, is the capability of coming in here and changing the material type. So it's got a bunch of gobbledygook up front. Basically, what you just need to do is type in what you're looking for. So if you're looking for PMWR, type in PMWR, and you'll see your PMWR selections. And if it's specifically maybe it's the economy PMWR or the PMWR V2, you would just see what it is that you print normally through EFI. And you'll see that because not all of these make sense for what your normal workflow is. And you'll get used to the one that is supposed to be selected. So come in here and make the selection and confirm and close. Now, hopefully you won't have to do this very often. This will be for the times that it wasn't correctly selected out of CorelDRAW when you went to File and Print. Let me see here, see if I've got any hands raised. Daniel, you've been waiting patiently for a moment. I'm going to bring you up on the line here. Daniel, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Daniel, go ahead and ask your question, sir.
Yeah. Where do the salesmen ring in the invoices for the sign makers to see every day? Is there like a log sheet?
Salesmen bringing the invoices. So you're looking for tickets like an upfront sales request?
Yes.
Fantastic segue. Thank you, Daniel. Actually, that doesn't exist at this moment, but that is something we're developing. We are actually looking to develop a front end right now. Our engineers working on it and creating the specs for it. And one of the things that we'd like to be able to do is actually have that be a dynamic digital request form that they can access from any PC, Mac, or mobile device that will have the keywords that you've actually created in the MPS interface tied into it, as well as the finishing that you've actually tied into it in the MPS interface as part of the selections that they can choose from. So they would come in, they would make their sales request, they'd describe the sign, you know, it's a 2x3, it's on this material, it's for this account, it's for, based on the keywords, for this account, for this route, for whatever it is that you want to be able to track by. And then that would actually email you a notification with a ticket number. They would get a ticket number, and then kind of like a Domino's pizza tracker or something like that, it would let them know throughout the process, hey, this has been processed, this has been printed, okay, this is ready for you to come pick up, and that is all depending on what you've done to the job. So if it's been printed, it shoots off a thing saying it's printed, but it's not ready. And then when you come in and you assign the ticket number in MPS, it would then automatically assign all of the keyword values that they wanted on that specific sign, and then anything else that you'd like to add to it. So that's one of the things that we're looking at getting on as soon as we can. And some of those features are things that we're brainstorming on. So we'll have to see how that turns out, but that's something that's really important to us and is a priority for us at this point. Michael, you've got a question. I'm going to bring you on the line as well, okay? Give me just one moment. Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious what the notification type that they get is. Is it like an email or text message or something on their device?
Yeah, so the notification is email. They will get an email sent to them when you actually create the keyword for that notification and then apply that keyword to the individual file or the ticket number if it comes down to the MPS front end that we're using. That applies those keywords automatically for you. It would send them a notification with this information right here in an email that says, this is ready for you to come pick up. Does that make sense?
Sir, thank you. Does it show them that thumbnail? Awesome.
Yeah, it basically shows them the thumbnail. So it'll show them the thumbnail, and it'll show them this information. It'll show them the name of the file. It'll show them when it was printed, the media type it was printed on, the printer that it was printed on, the number of copies, the number of pages, and then it'll show them whether it was laminated or grommeted or whatever, but it won't show them cost association at all.
Sweet. Good job, guys.
Cool. All right, I've got another question here coming in. Let me just pull this up. I think we actually answered that question. Michael, that was a question from you about the notification type that they would get. Any other questions about anything that we've gone over so far? I'm looking for hands up. I'm looking for questions. It looks like we've got one more here. Ronnie, I see you've got a question. Let me bring you on the line. Go ahead, Ronnie.
Well, I'm just wondering, we run reports by volume ranking every quarter, and sometimes those change. So can that database be changed and imported back in like once a quarter?
So you're talking about in the keywords here.
Right.
The ability to change these around?
Right.
I don't know that you'd necessarily need to change the keywords as much as you can create new keywords anytime you want to change them. So these keyword values that are in here, I'm not sure that you'd want to delete them. I'm trying to find the advantage to doing that.
Well, but like, okay, our accounts, like Joe's Bar and Grill is the high volume. He's a B account. And Racks and Reels is a D account because I don't do much volume. But next quarter, Racks and Reels may move up to a U account, and Joe's Bar and Grill may move down to a U account, and those reports will get run differently next quarter than in this quarter than they did last quarter because of the ranking change.
Gotcha. I would actually just import all of your accounts, and then when you run your report, if it's a specific value you want to run it for, regardless of their ranking in your systems, you can run it for Joe's Bar and Grill. Right? So if I put in here Joe's Bar and Grill and run a report just for that, and I'm not applying any other filters, I will see the jobs that I've applied for Joe's Bar and Grill.
Yeah, my sales manager wants to see he wants to see a report for the B accounts.
So you want to create different account categories for those accounts. I see what you're saying. The problem that you're going to run into is that once a job has been assigned as a certain level, it will always be that level. So they won't change. So, for example, if I applied this job right here as a B account job, it will always be a B account job, even if they move to a U account at the end of the year.
Okay.
That will always be a B account job. So when you go to run your report at the end of the year for your U account customer, they may not show this job as a B account.
Right. Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yep.
So it's kind of the same thing with sales reps. Usually when people want to track by sales reps, I typically tell them, yeah, hang off on that. Instead of using sales reps, maybe you want to use route numbers, because sales reps change quite a bit. If you've got Larry in there today, but he leaves next month and Curly takes his spot, and then Mo takes his spot 2 months from then, at the end of the year, are you going to remember to run a report for Larry, Curly, and Mo if you're worried about annual costing? Or are you better off maybe doing it by route, and Larry's assigned to route 2, and you just know that? And so when you run your report for your route 2, you know that it's assigned to Larry, and you go that way. It really comes down to per wholesaler and how you guys operate.
Right.
Does that make sense, Ronnie?
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any other questions based on that? Okay. Moving on. Anybody else got any questions? Let's see. Ronnie's taking there. All right. I don't see any other questions at the moment. So again, some of the newer things that we've added just recently, and I just kind of want to go back over this, is the ability to come into the dashboard and change and apply multiple jobs at the same time, confirm multiple jobs at the same time. The ability to add into your keywords the notification to the salespersons for whom you're applying the job so that they know to come pick up their stuff. The ability to assign cost templates so that you can have just a predetermined amount that you want to have set up. So if it was a 2x3 stand-up or if it was a large banner, you know that you want to apply a $15 surcharge to that because it takes you 30 minutes to trim it out and get it ready and all that kind of stuff. And that way you don't have to worry about your labor time at all with that. You just select large banner that puts it in there. The other things that we're looking at putting in here really soon is simple user interface items that don't necessarily change the way that the user interface works, but makes it a little bit better. For example, currently as you scroll down the page, that banner that's up at the top of the page right here doesn't stay up. Doesn't stay so that you can see it along with the confirmation, so you've got to select your job and then scroll back up. And we'll just make this a floating banner. That's coming pretty quick. So little things like that we're doing all the time to improve. And again, those are based on your suggestions. So anytime that you as a wholesaler have any suggestions, please let us know. Get a hold of myself or even Justin, and we will notate it. We will make a little bit of research to see if that's something that would benefit multiple persons. And if so, we'll definitely implement it. The front end is something we're really excited about introducing as soon as we can with the feature sets, hopefully, that we've discussed, depending on what we're doing there. We've moved things to updated servers just recently, and then we are also looking at adding backup databases to even secure this information even more. Just looking over my notes to see if there's anything else that we need to discuss, or if you've got any questions about anything else that may have not been brought up, please raise your hand at this point or go ahead and type in a question. I may just unmute all here and just see if we can go through here. Daniel, let me bring it over to you real quick. Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I was wondering, what if you get products from other TMS or not from TMS? Is there a way to program that into the system? Because
not for ink and media. Not for ink and media. For any of the finishing products, yes. Because
okay.
you define to us when you call in to set up the database, or when you actually place the order to have the MPS set up for you, you define to us what finishing costs you want to be able to track it by. So you say, I want chloroplast, and I want to be able to track it by per square foot. meaning however big the sign was, I want you to apply that to the chloroplast when I select chloroplast, and then I want you to calculate that out at $3.75 per square foot. Or I want you to do a 2x4 sheet of chloroplast, and every time I select that, I want it to ask me how many sheets I used, and each sheet is $5.20. I mean, it doesn't matter. You just define to us how you want to be able to track it, and we'll build the database for you on that.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. Any other questions? Thank you, Daniel, for bringing that up. Stephanie has a question. Stephanie, can you delete jobs out of a dashboard that you don't necessarily want tracked? Fantastic questions. So you don't want me to see your happy birthday banners. Is that what you're saying? It doesn't matter. Yes, you personally cannot, but you can shoot me off an email and I can go in there and delete it. The other thing about it is that you don't have to apply any tracking to it. You can just confirm the job. So if I come in here and say, you know, I don't really want, this doesn't really make any sense for me to track by, I can just confirm and close it without putting anything on here. And then when I go to run a report for Joe's Bar and Grill, or when I go to run a report for costs by brand or whatever, it doesn't show up anywhere in any of the reports that I run. However, it will still be a file in here if I don't apply a filter and I want to export this out. Or if I just apply a date range and I want to export this out, it'll still show the file in here and still show the cost, but it's not something that will be categorized. So if you actually do a category and search by that category or whatever, it won't show up because you didn't apply a category to it. I hope that answers your question, Stephanie. Again, if you do want a specific file deleted, shoot off an email. Up at the top of the link here, up at the top of the page, there's an email for support at managedprintview.com. That will grab a couple of us and we can get in there and get it taken care of for you. Looks like we've got a couple more questions here. Let me just see if we can open up some mics. Daniel, you got another question, buddy? Let me open it up. Go ahead.
False alarm, sorry.
Oh, that's all right. All right, let me go ahead and bring open. Amanda. Hi, Amanda. You had a question? Can finishing jobs be changed when costs go up? Yes, finishing costs can be changed. Again, it's just sending that email to me, and I can get them updated. It's easy to do. It doesn't take very long to get those finishing costs updated. Let me just read through some of these questions here. Ray has got a question. I like to manipulate the circle graphs that get exported into PDF, but the last time I tried, they would not import into Corel, and they were very low bitmaps, quality bitmaps. Has that changed? No, and that's a great question here because we discussed it, but I didn't discuss what you can do with it. Ray is asking about when you actually come in here and let's say you want to do a cost by account, and she wants to be able to manipulate this. What you can do is you can download this as a PDF right now, and it just becomes a bitmapped PDF. However, very soon, one of the things that will be thrown in here along with the floating banner is the ability to export this out as an Excel spreadsheet, and then it just becomes a really quick create a graph off of that, and then you can tweak that however you want in Excel. I hope that answers your question, Ria. Stephanie, let's see here. Can you delete jobs out of the dashboard? We talked about that. By a single shelf, tracking by a single shelf. Ronnie, I'm going to bring this up so that you can ask me because I'm not understanding what your question is here, and maybe it's beneficial for everybody. Let me just find you here. There you are, Ronnie. Ronnie, you should be able to speak now. What's your question?
The shelf tag page, like the 18, there's 18 of them on a page. Sometimes I only do 3. for an account.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, so you want to be able to apply multiple keywords to that specific item and have it weighted out. Yes, we've actually looked into that, or Ronnie, we've actually looked into that. What we're trying to do is just put it on a weight percentage so that you can actually go in there and say certain amount of percent for this person, certain amount of percent for this person. So it won't know that you have 18 up shelf strips, but you could say 25% of it was for this account, 25% was for this account.
Okay. Okay.
So that is coming.
Okay. Cool.
Does that answer your question?
Yep. Thank you.
It'll be soon. Okay, let me see who else has a question here. Wesley says, my printer occasionally jams, let's see, or jobs end unexpectedly. However, EFI shows it as printed. How do you fix this in the MPS? Fantastic question. Thank you, Leslie. Basically, what you're asking is, in the jobs log interface, the job shows as printed and a total cost is applied to that job as if the entire job was printed, even though you canceled the job or you jammed or whatever it was. Very soon we'll actually be adding in, within the next couple of months, we'll be adding in a column here that shows percent complete, and that percent complete will be calculated against the total cost. I've seen emails going back and forth between EFI and our engineer who engineers the MPS for us, trying to get that figured out. So we hope to add that very, very soon. I hope that answers that question. Let me look here. It looks like I don't see any other questions at this time. If that's the case, let me just finish up by again saying that the MPS program is $495 a year. Again, that's about $1.35, $1.36 a day, and that covers all the updates, all the feature updates that we're talking about. The only thing that will not include is if we introduce, or when we introduce, an entire client that's outside of that. So, for example, the front end, which will be for sales reps and sales managers to access, that would be a different charge than the main staple of MPS reporting and configuration that we're looking at today. Other than that, any feature updates that we do, any database entries that we have to make, any charges to be able to keep that data for the 3 years, that's all included for that cost. So we're pretty excited about this software. This software is actually something that we're pretty passionate about. Again, you guys have helped us make this a lot better by putting in your requests and telling us what you needed. So we thank you very much for that. If you have any further questions, please go ahead and shoot me off an email at the top of your MPS link if you have MPS, or call into TMS and ask for Carl. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might feel are kind of specific or unique to your situation. Again, thank you for joining us today. We've really appreciated this. This will be a captured presentation and will be available online if you want to go back over it. We'll post that soon. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.